Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the bizval webinar for December. It's been a couple of months since we had our last webinar. We've been off at the Great British Business Show in London. It's been a busy time of the year. We're just going to give it a minute or two to allow everyone to join, and then we'll get cracking. All right, so if there's stragglers who join, it's their loss, not yours. So today we are talking the importance of sales systems and processes in building a valuable business. So before we get going, just a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll introduce you to our guests and a little bit about the topic. But just so everyone knows, there's a chat section and a Q&A section on the webinar platform. So if you have any questions, please include those in the Q&A. We're also running a poll, so there should be a little button on the left-hand side where you can go and complete the poll question. And the format for today is we're going to have about a 25-minute discussion followed by a Q&A. But as we're going along, if you've got any questions that you want to ask, put them in the chat section. If it's relevant, we'll pick it up there, else we'll hold it over till the end of the webinar. So today, I'm delighted to be joined by two very special guests, Emma Shimmens and Zeynep Ozkasim. So I've been practicing that, but I don't know if I got that right. But today's topic is all around, I guess, sales systems and processes, and specifically around CRM. And I'll talk to why we've selected this as a topic, and it actually relates to an experience we've had as bizval as we're growing and scaling our business, and a real pain point. And during that process, we came across the team from VendorBox, and we thought, wow, we've got to get them on a webinar. So for those of you who've been on some of our webinars before, I'm Graham Stephen. I'm the founder and CEO of bizval. We help enterprises or owner-led businesses get ready for investment, get ready for exit, and understand their value. So we're passionate about helping entrepreneurs basically understand what's needed to realize the value in their businesses, whether that's for exit, sale, or even a growth strategy. Today, I'm joined by the VendorBox founding team. So a couple of the founding team. So I've got Zeynep and I've got Emma. So Zeynep, if you wouldn't take a moment just to introduce yourself and Emma, and then we'll dive into the agenda.
Sounds great. First of all, Graham and the bizval team, thank you for having us. It's great to be here. So I'm Zeynep. I'm joining from Turkey, and I have 15 years of experience in the CRM landscape. So I know the pain Graham and the bizval team just been through, and also CX. And earlier this year, I had the pleasure of working with over like half a dozen people at VendorBox, and we are on a mission to make CRM selection easier for startups and SMBs, and it's great to be here.
Thanks, Zeynep. Emma, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Emma. As mentioned, I'm one of the founding team at VendorBox, supporting Zeynep and the mission we're on there. But prior to that, I've got about 10 years of experience, primarily working in tech organizations on the sales and marketing side. I'm now sort of transitioning more to the people up side, but it's all to do with enabling companies and individuals to be successful through all of their processes, scaling teams, etc. Obviously, lots of things that we're talking about today.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Emma. We were joking before the start of the webinar that the image on the front cover looks like a rock band, and I think it's probably aptly called the Two Roses and the Thorn. So no prizes for guessing which one I am in that. So I think for today's agenda, we're going to talk through a few things. So what are the and I'll start with a little bit from a valuation perspective. Is why are we talking sales and CRM, and why is it important for business owners to kind of understand and appreciate that? And then we're going to go into a discussion with Zeynep and Emma around some questions around why businesses need CRM, what are some of the key requirements. I'm not going to go through all of this now, but we'll have a conversation around that over the next sort of 20-25 minutes. But I think to just kick off is why is this important? Now, most SMB businesses The value of that business is dependent on a few key drivers. One of those is owner dependence. So does the business operate independently of the owner? The second is the profits that you're making as a business owner. How quickly can you grow them? So do you have a growth strategy? And key to that is being able to drive profitable sales. So, the lifeblood of any business is getting leads into the top of the funnel and converting those into sales, which converts into revenue. And if you do that properly, it converts into profits. So that's a core part of any business. And the better you do that, the more valuable your business can be. But I think talking about owner dependence, making that shift from, and one of the key areas of owner dependence is not the owner running around doing everything, but a lot of small businesses, the owner is the one who's doing the selling. They're the personality behind the business. And it's quite a difficult shift to make from the owner stepping aside and saying, how do I let other people sell my product or sell what we're doing? And to do that, you need more than passion. You need systems, you need processes. And it's an incredibly difficult shift to make, not just from a process point of view, but also from a mindset point of view. And it's something that we at bizval have even gone through. We believe we've got a great offering and our clients love us, but even me as a founder, sometimes I struggle with that sort of shift to saying, how do I hand over sales to other people in my team? It's a difficult transition to make. And the stats back it up. We've valued over 1,000 companies in the last year and a half or so. And one of the questions we ask is, is somebody else capable of running the business while you go on holiday? And interestingly enough, is that for almost 80% of businesses, is that they can't entirely step away from the business. Okay. They need to be involved in some way, shape, or form. And the ideal is that you can move away from that so that the business can function sometimes even better. Your business is doing well when the owner goes on vacation and sales improve or profitability improves. So that's the silver bullet. That's what we're aiming for. I think just to touch on this, and the reason behind this website is clearly sales and CRM touches a real pain point for business owners. So I'm going to use a little bit of a cheeky stat, but I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and we talk about business valuation, growing businesses. And my best performing post, and I'm not a LinkedIn celebrity or influencer by any stretch of the imagination, but one post stuck out in particular. 87,000 views. To give a reference point, I would normally get about 2,000, maybe 3,000 views on a LinkedIn post. And that was around our pain point around CRM. And that's what kind of triggered the idea behind this webinar. So with that in mind, I'm just going to be asking the questions. I've got the experts in the room. And, I think to kick off, the first question on everyone's mind is, if you're operating in a big organization, it's easy to say, we need a CRM, we need processes. But the first question, I'd like to ask Zeynep is, do small businesses, do SMBs need a CRM, and why?
Yes, so the short answer is yes. We know from research that 85% of SMBs adopt a CRM within their first 4 to 5 years. And I'll get into the whys in a minute, but I'm a firm believer that even at the startup stage, you should start looking for a CRM the minute you know that you have a viable product. Because, the longer you wait, the messier it gets, the harder it gets for the training part and customizations, integrations, and all of that. And just to help visualize why it's important to have a CRM for the SMBs, I'll have a mental checklist. So for example, if it's taking you more than 30 seconds to get to the bottom of customer information, on a single customer, there's a good chance that you need a CRM. Or if you're doing, marketing campaigns, if you're creating marketing campaigns that require targeted outreach, or even if you have a customer support team that needs full visibility into what's happening with the customers, their issues, and their history, then you definitely need a CRM. It can be something simple as, wanting to automate repetitive tasks such as lead assignment or, automating follow-up emails. But for me personally, the most important reason would be if you need deep analytics into creating strategies around sales and marketing and your customer retention strategies, then you definitely need a CRM. And that 15% bucket, they are usually SMBs that have a really small customer base that can easily be managed by using spreadsheets or simpler tools. In those cases, a CRM might be an overreach, but just to recap, yes, we do know that 85% of SMBs do need a CRM for all these reasons.
Yeah, and I think just to touch on that point is it's you get to the point, and we've been through this as bizval, and in the sort of first 3 or 4 months of the business, you can almost remember everybody that you've engaged with as you're starting to build out your product, and then suddenly you get to a point where you start dropping the ball because you've got more than 20 potential clients or more than 50 potential clients, and as much as you have the best intent, I think it becomes very, very difficult to track and manage and monitor. And so having a CRM is basically like having an extra memory bank in your pocket, so to speak. And if it's done well, it can really, really take your business to the next level. So I mean, I think we established, and I think from a valuation point of view, it's clear, right? You can help remove some of that owner dependency and what have you. But let's move on to the next question. And I hope I've got the order right, because we've kind of tweaked a few things a little bit. But I think, Emma, if I can maybe ask you is, what are some of the key CRM requirements that most business owners have? Or we've used the word CRM owners, but what are some of the key requirements? And what should you think about when you start selecting a CRM?
So I think Zeynep and yourself have touched on a few good things already there, but I think the overarching goal of, and the requirements that you have as an SMB owner, as a business owner to get a CRM is to see across that full customer journey. So like we were sort of talking about at the beginning, you need to have insight into who your customers are, what stage of the funnel are they at, are they in the awareness stage, are they a lead, a qualified lead, are they already a customer, are they a repeat customer, how long have they known about us? We need all of that information to be able to send out tailored and customized messaging and reminders and email campaigns and things to find them in the place where they're at. And that spans multiple areas of your business. So depending on either whether you're just the founder on your own, you've got a couple of ICs supporting you, or you've got a more established team, it will be hitting your marketing team, then your sales team, and your customer support or your CX team across those different areas. So as I mentioned, it depends how established your company is, but what's really important is that whoever is owning those different areas of your business, a CRM can really help provide the insight into, okay, who's this customer? When did they first find out about us? Have they already spoken to, Graham before? Have they already spoken to Zeynep before? What emails have they had from us? What have they interacted with? And that's really, really important to make sure that you're not dropping the ball in any places, you're not missing any areas of your audience, and you're targeting them with specific messaging. So I think they are the main requirements that an owner would have, and obviously it enables, we'll get onto this in a bit, but it also enables you to scale your team. I know we're going to go into that a bit further, so we'll discuss that in a second.
Zeynep, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think that was the perfect summary.
So I think the next one, and this is was really the pain point for us at bizval, is we were kind of overwhelmed by the number of choices when it came to CRM. So it's almost like it's not 7 colors of the rainbow, it's like 7,000 colors of the rainbow. So you at Vendobox, I guess, started the business to help address this issue. If you're a big organization, it's probably quite easy. There's probably 2 or 3 big CRM providers, and you choose one and you kind of pick your lane. But why are there so many choices from a CRM perspective, and why is it so confusing for business owners to choose the right one?
So let me start with why it's confusing, because it's going to tie nicely to why there are so many choices. So the literal definition of CRM is customer relationship management, which should suggest that it encompasses all of the teams that are interacting with customers. Sales, marketing, customer support, customer experience, and even in some cases, customer success. But the reality has been really different. So if you take a look at the job description of a CRM manager, for example, you will see that at the top, you will often see something like organizing, managing, and reporting on the effectiveness of marketing campaigns. So you mean like a growth marketing manager? So over the years, CRM has been closely associated with marketing, which can skew perceptions. That's one. The second thing is something we discovered while we were doing market validation. And I was talking to the startup CEO in London, and he has an e-commerce B2B, B2C startup. And I asked him what CRM he was using. And he said, we're not doing B2B sales. So in his head, like CRM was hard-coded as this tool that is used for B2B sales. So I was confused. I asked him like, okay, well, how do you manage customer interactions then? And he goes, oh, no, we have a tool for managing existing customers and leads. We have another one for marketing. And also we have chat. So essentially they had all the CRM systems in place. It was just fragmented across different tools. And so it's this lack of clarity about what CRM entails and how it should function that has made the landscape frustratingly confusing for businesses. And you know, why are there so many choices? It's precisely because of this fragmentation. So go to any review site, G2, Capterra, TrustRadius, any of these like software review sites, and take a look at the list, the tools list that are listed under CRM, the category CRM. You'll often see that, you know, some are designed exclusively for sales teams. Some are just for marketing automation. Some of them combine sales and support, but they exclude marketing altogether. Some are great for startups, and the others cater to larger businesses. And most people don't know this, but there are vendors that serve in specific industries. So a tool that is great for a venture capital or a fintech company might fail in an e-commerce startup. So this diversity in the CRM landscape happened over the years because businesses started having different requirements based on their size, their industry, their offering, and their goals. And the CRM market has evolved to meet all of these various needs, and more vendors emerged to meet these really niche specific segments. But the result is, you know, an overwhelmingly convoluted space. And there's this mind-boggling stat that I share everywhere I go, and that is this confusion in the CRM landscape leads to business owners picking the right tool, selecting the wrong tool, actually. And when you select the wrong tool, that leads to bad CRM data. And bad CRM data costs businesses over $600 billion every year, and in the US alone. So it's not only confusing, and it has become very, very costly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this proliferation of choice. There's almost a choice overload. I mean, just Zeynep, I don't know if you know offhand. I mean, how many different CRM options are there? I mean, I think I read a stat that there's like sort of over 700 different, like broadly classified as CRM options. Maybe it's even more than that. And it's just too much. It's like going into a Starbucks nowadays. You know, you just want your flat white or your Americano, but you know, you can't even find that on the menu because there's too much choice, right?
Yeah, there are. It changes every day. There are some local CRM vendors as well that just serve in one, region. But yes, the last time I checked, there were like 670. So it has become very convoluted for sure.
100%. So with that in mind, how does an SMB owner actually then go about choosing the right CRM? I mean, it's proliferation of choice, don't know where to start. Like, and we'll talk a little bit just now about, and maybe you want to go in there as well as how VendorBox actually helps that process. But you know, how do you go about choosing the right CRM? What would you advise a business owner who came to you and said, "Well, I don't even know where to start"?
They should come to VendorBox for sure. But no, I'll give some tips. First of all, please do not buy a CRM because you've used it before or someone else in your organization has used it before. Like I've been saying, something that works in a fintech environment might fail in your, medium-sized e-commerce business. And I was actually talking to a sales director a few months ago, and a few years ago, he was working at the startup that was doing sports equipment. And so, there's manufacturing, there is logistics, there is billing, there's inventory management. Right. And to my surprise, they picked the right tool, one of the best ones out there for that specific operation. And they were really happy with it. And then he moved on to another company, a Wi-Fi company. And this company was in the process of switching CRMs, and they were just trying to find out which one. And with the best of intentions, our sales director just, convinced them to switch to the tool that they were using at the sports equipment startup. And I was like, okay, well, what was the result? Tell me about it. And he was like, a colossal waste of time and money, hundreds of thousands of dollars lost, because, it worked at the startup company where they were doing, where they were making sports equipments. But in a Wi-Fi environment, it completely failed. And the same tool just turned into a graveyard of contacts and leads that nobody was taking a look at. So that's point number one. Like, don't pick a tool because it worked in some other environment. The second, identify why you need a CRM. Like, how are you going to use it? Which teams are going to be involved? Is it just sales and marketing? Is it sales, marketing, customer support, or some combination of that? Because, it's going to impact your how many seats you need, how many licenses you need, and that impacts your budget. And what's your budget? And please be generous with your budget. When you're, if you're the business owner, if you're the decision maker, be generous, because when you select the right tool, like for every dollar you invest in the right CRM tool, and I cannot emphasize that enough, but like the right tool, the return on investment is $8.7. So be generous. Like, it's not a cost center. It will help you make money in the long term. And personally, for me, the most important one would be include at least one rep from each team that's going to be using the CRM, because, maybe they have a requirement that you're completely missing. It increases buy-in. It increases user adoption. And, because they might have something that they might have a feature that they cannot live without in their day-to-day operation. So include at least one team, and feel free to come to VendorBox, really.
I think, just if I can kind of relay some of our experiences as was, is when a business is in its early stages, you're still often figuring out what your product market fit is, all of those sorts of things. I guess as much as you say, pick a CRM early, you kind of have to understand what your sales processes are, who you're selling to, what your requirements are first. So, can you maybe just talk about the importance? And then Emma, maybe I can ask you that question. It's not on the script, but I'm throwing at you. Is actually just kind of understanding and mapping out your sales processes. Is that something you should do before you go choose a CRM? And have you got any horror stories of clients who haven't done that and ended up regretting their purchase decision?
Yeah, well, I think, like we mentioned, CRMs are a good place to, establish those processes and get follow-ups and automations in place once you have built your sales process. But I think, as you'll know, and any founder will know, it's a bit sort of trial and error at the beginning, and there's not a one-size-fits-all sales process, depending on your product or service, what audiences, potentially plural, that you're hitting. You're going to need different tactics, different platforms. You might need to use social media. So you're going to have a lot of different requirements depending on what ends up working. And that also might change as your company gets bigger or as the market evolves, as competitors come in. There's lots of different reasons why your sales process and tactics is going to evolve anyway. So I would say it obviously is very relevant to starting a business and setting those processes from the beginning. But I think you have to remain agile. You have to remain data driven and make sure you're constantly looking at what is working, what is getting the results, what's driving revenue, and be able to adapt and switch up when necessary. And that sort of goes back to what we're talking about choosing a CRM. So actually the right CRM that we're talking about might not be the same tool as your business grows and evolves. So you might actually find that a specific tool is relevant to you as you're starting out and trying out different processes. you might then find out what works for you and think, hang on, this tool isn't actually the best one for that. And so you might need to have another look at the market of CRM tools and think, okay, which one is best suited to this particular sales strategy that we're currently finding is working for us. And therefore you might have to switch. And I know a lot of founders and sort of team leads in general are just, the switching cost of things is like, oh, this is a nightmare. We've already put money and time into training on this tool, etc. But in the long run, it probably is going to serve you better. So that's another thing that we also promote at VendorBox, is that depending on the size and stage of your organization, we can also help you do like a CRM health check and see, right, is the tool that you're currently using the right one for your size and stage of business? Because it might be that you need to switch to help serve your longer term goals. So I think it depends on all these factors.
That's a great point. It's not like choosing a life partner or a marriage partner. It's in the early stages, it was a little bit more like dating, right? And you may need to change down the line. What works for you now may be well different. I think that's part of the challenge is, the big names in CRM are often the ones which they've got all these hundreds of features, but actually you need like 2 or 3 of them. You don't need all 100, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. And maybe it kind of leads into the next question is, talk about implementation partners. So on the one hand, you're choosing a system or CRM system to help you scale and put your processes in place. But often as a business owner or business founder, you're not the expert in sales necessarily or processes and systems. So it's something we went through at bizval as sort of a challenge, is kind of finding the right implementation partner. And why is it so important to have the correct implementation partner? And how do you think about actually choosing the right implementation partner? Because a lot of these modern systems are kind of like, if you read all the marketing hype, it's like, even now with the advent of AI, like you would have you believe that you kind of click enter, and AI takes care of the rest, and you don't have to do anything else. I mean, that's the sales pitch, right? But can you talk about the implementation partner and why that's so important?
So the implementation partners become particularly important if you don't have internal CRM know-how. And they can help with your change management and the overall CRM strategy, because maybe you need a feature that you were not aware of, and these people are experts in those areas as well. But for me, again, even when you work with an implementation partner, you have to make sure that you're giving them the right tool to work off of. It's like, I compare this to let's say that you have a chef and you give them, I don't know, meat that is past its expiration dates and some bad onions. And then you're like, okay, well, make me a beef stroganoff. It's like, okay, well, you will still get full, you will still be fed, but, it won't be as fresh or as delicious as, something that he could have done with some fresh meat. So having the implementation partner, especially again, if you don't have the internal know-how, will help you with the integrations, with the customizations, because these people are experts in most of the tools that are out there. And they also help with the change management, because it can be, you've been through this, Graham, very recently. Yeah. So it can be a culture shift almost to switch from emails or spreadsheets to a fully fleshed CRM system. So they can provide incredible value in that sense.
Absolutely. And I think, we experience it ourselves. And just because you say the same with the system, just because the implementation partner was right for somebody else doesn't mean it's right for you. It's got to kind of fit into your rhythm and routine as a business. And, can you afford to spend 6 hours a day for 3 weeks working with the partner to implement things? Or do you want somebody who can kind of take it and offload it, and you can carry on doing what you need to do? And that's often the challenge with these things, is that the partner wants to implement and you're trying to run the business at the same time. So it's about getting that balance and that culture right. I think let's move on to the next question. You've touched on a bit of this, but let's talk about vendorbox.io and how do you guys help? How do you help particularly SMB businesses choose the right CRM, and maybe talk a little bit about why did you start in the first place? Because I think it was in a response to this kind of pain point we're describing. And how can you help owners?
So we essentially have two products, and the first one is the CRM selector, and we developed this product specifically for first-time buyers. So let's say you don't have a CRM and you need one. It's getting harder and harder to get customer information. You have 6 tabs open at all times. So we get the requirements from you through a form that we have on our website, and we get the requirements, and then we have an algorithm. Our database has close to 200 vendors, the top ones out of the 700. And what we do is our algorithm cross-references all of your requirements to the vendor database that we have, and these are completely unbiased. Like I have my personal preferences, but it doesn't go into the selection process. It's the algorithm that is doing its job. So this is a product that we designed specifically for first-time buyers. But then when we launched VendorBox earlier this year, we started getting questions from startups and SMBs like, I already have a CRM. Like we have a CRM and it's not working. Nobody's using it. I don't know what to do. And that's when we rolled out the product that Emma was talking about a few minutes ago, the CRM health check. So we reverse engineer the process for this. And what we do is, okay, what are the tools? It's pretty much the same questions. We only have an extra one where we ask, what tools are you using? Give us the vendor names. And then what we do is our algorithm goes through the list of tools that they have, and it identifies the pain points. It says, okay, well, these are the most important reasons. These are the reasons why this is not working in your organization. Maybe they're not serving in your industry. Maybe it's designed for enterprise level. True story, by the way. And then it also comes with a list of recommendations that are best fits for you. So even if you have a CRM or if you don't, we can definitely help if it's not working, or if you need a CRM. All you need is just give us 10 minutes to fill out the questionnaire, and our algorithm takes care of the rest. It's still being we want to make sure that we are close to perfect with this algorithm. So right now, once we have your requirements, once we have the order, our turnaround time is about 2 days. And this we brought down from 11 weeks of research. If you want to pick a CRM today, the research itself, it's like 11 weeks. So what we do is, okay, well, this is what the algorithm gave us. And then someone on the VendorBox team, we double check, and then I triple check, and then we generate a report, a recommendation list that we then share with our users. And it's no strings attached, really. Like if you need a CRM in 3 months, you can refer to it. If you want to wait, if you have a CRM and if you want to wait until your licenses expire in, 6 months, you can refer to it whenever you need.
I think that's also, I'm kind of touching on it a little bit. I mean, that was one of the other sort of murky underbellies of trying to choose a CRM is actually the commercial model, because it can be quite confusing understanding what are you actually paying. You see the list price of $20 per user per month, and then when you break it down, actually to do the implementation and set up in that, it's more like $1,000 a month. So VendorBox also helps a little bit with that, right? I mean, it gives some clarity around not just what the tool does, but also what the potential commercial options or not. So is that something that comes later?
What we do is we give also pricing plan details. So, maybe it's a straightforward operation where you can, just pay $10 per user per month, and that's it. If there are, more requirements, if there are more details, we ask them to provide us all the details in this text box that we have in the questionnaire. And in that case, we say, okay, well, we picked this pricing plan for you because of all of these reasons. Or it can be a bundle. Okay, you need this, these two tools will work seamlessly together. And, they serve in your industry, they meet all of your requirements. So we do the bundling and why they are the best fits. But with the implementation and all of that, we just refer them to implementation partners.
100%. I think we've spoken a bit about the CRM and the tools and that, but Emma, maybe a question to you is, underpinning all of that, and we've touched on that, is, process and culture. Would you mind maybe just sharing a few thoughts around how important process and culture is in driving a sales organization, or a customer-led sales organization? I think that's, in my view, that's part of the underbelly. You can have the best tool, but if you don't have the right culture or the right processes, you set up for failure. So Emma, I know you got some thoughts around that, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning about how to then sort of take it off the founder's plate originally and sort of scale an organization, all that good stuff. Because I think once you have established what sales processes are working for you, you can then establish, right, is there a compensation structure to do with this? Is it going to be individual compensation or bonuses, like team bonuses? Because that's always very important in a sales driven function of a business anyway. But I think that then leads into also, how do you then recruit people, onboard them, train them? If you haven't got processes in place, it's not going to enable any of that, because especially as a founder who's trying to take stuff off their plate, or like a first enterprise account exec, for example, who's trying to then hire some more account execs to help them, it's really, really hard to, one, find the right people to support your organization, but two, onboard and train them if you haven't got established, documented, built out processes that can then embed them in what we know is working and enable them and empower them to do their best within that process. And obviously that's not to say that new people should just abide by everything that's gone before. I mean, when you hire anyone, the first sort of couple of months, 2 to 3 months, is a really important time for you to get feedback from them, get their fresh eyes on the processes that you've got, and get extra insights and bits of knowledge and experience worked into that. But if you know that something is definitely working and driving revenue through your organization, you need to have that fully built out to then hire new people, train them on it, and therefore continue to grow and expand your sales part of your business. So it is very, very important.
Yeah, and I guess it probably leads into the sort of next question is why is it so hard? And I'm sure you guys have been through it yourselves as you're building, VendorBox. We've been through it as bizval. I'm sure many of the entrepreneurs listening today go through this process. Is why is it so hard to transition from owner-driven to team-driven sales? It's not just process, it's not just systems. What's your experience been? Have you got any sort of stories where it's been successful, and what's made those owners particularly successful in making the shift? And maybe 1 or 2 examples where you've experienced the customers really struggled with this. What are those pain points?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, through working with a bunch of different founders, and I obviously, like Graham, you obviously from your experience as well, I think when you start a business, it's, for want of a better phrase, it becomes just sort of, it's like another child, basically, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's hard to split your identity from the business sometimes, which I've seen some founders do this really well, where they understand they're a person and that's a business, whereas some, it's very intertwined, it becomes part of their identity, which is totally understandable. But I think there does need to be that level of separation, because not all businesses last forever, not all businesses are successful, and as a person you don't want to be sort of completely integrated with that success or not success, for example. But I think going back to the whole recruitment piece, I think founders and any sort of professional leaders in general need to realise that recruiting the right people is super important, because ultimately, when building a team, you want to get in a position where actually you can fire yourself, not literally, but you should be hiring people that are better and more skilled than you at the particular thing you're hiring them for. And like you mentioned that with that pie chart at the beginning, Graham, about being able to go on holiday, there was an example. So when I sort of led a 10-person growth team at an edtech organisation and built that team up from scratch myself, and there was an awful lot of recruitment and training and process and all of that put into place to get to that point. And I remember it got to a stage where I went on a holiday, had 2 weeks off, was completely incognito. Obviously I said, if anything major happens, please do message me, WhatsApp me, but I am not on Slack, all that good stuff. And then I came back and said, right, tell me, what can I help with? What happened? And they were like, no, it's absolutely fine. And I was like, Perfect. You know, I've effectively fired myself, but the amount of good recruitment and training and onboarding that goes into that, and obviously people management skills to get to that point. But I think at a founder level, it's easier because I wasn't the owner of the business. But when you're the owner of the business, I just think you have that personal tie. And so I think it's just about working on that and being aware of that as an individual and trying to hire better people than yourself. I think that's what it comes down to.
Zeynep, I mean, any thoughts from your side?
I did exactly what Emma said there. I hired the best people, and you know, I'm not getting into her business. Like, you know, it's just I do some sort of business development in Turkey with accelerator programs and VCs, but that's exactly why we have the team at VendorBox, because like these people are more skilled than I am in so many of the areas. So yes, it has been hard to let go of some aspects, but when you see the outcome, it's just brilliant.
I think I mean, if I can just add
a
couple of thoughts from my side, is I think it's, a lot of it's that emotional shift. It's your baby and it's your idea. You know, it's like sending your child to daycare, you know, for the first time. It's emotionally letting go. But I think also is sometimes the busyness that it takes. You know, you're busy trying to run a business, especially in the early days. You're juggling, you're doing all these things, and to actually map out processes, to make sure you've got the right sales collateral, to make sure you set everything, it takes time. And on the other hand, you're then trying to bring revenue in. So especially if you're bootstrapping a business, it can be quite challenging, right? And you're kind of like, well, the investment's going to pay for itself. What did you say? 7.8 times ultimately is the average. But it's hard to take that leap of faith sometimes. And I guess, I suppose, with venture founded businesses or venture capital founded businesses or businesses that have got capital, sometimes maybe it's easier. So I think that's a large part of it as well, is that making that mental shift, finding the time. And even though you know in your heart that it's the right thing to do, it's just very, very difficult. I mean, there's no silver bullet here, but what advice would you give to a founder who's struggling? You know, I mean, what would, if there's one thing you could say to them in terms of trying to make that shift, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I have two cheeky things actually rather than one, but one of them, like you said, would be spend, even if it's just 20 minutes a week, like something very minor, just do some documentation and like some reflection of like what's worked this week, what hasn't worked this week, what do we put in place, blah, 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 because you always think, oh, I'm going to remember this, I'm going to remember why we did this, but you never will. Like, it's just impossible because too many things happen. Yeah. So I would say definitely, even if it's just 20 minutes, spend that time documenting and reflecting on the week. The other thing, and as I said, it goes to hiring, initially hire data-driven people and people that are good with numbers and analysis at the start, because I think that should enable you to have trust in them quicker, because they can then come back to you with, okay, this has worked because of X, Y, Z, and it's all quantitative. And so I think that would help with the emotional detachment, because you can trust what they're saying because they're basing it on facts and figures. So that they would be my two recommendations.
Thanks, Emma. Zeynep, any thoughts from you?
Well, I just recently went through this, so just I was thinking about if someone asked me to define VendorBox with one word, what would that be? And the word was trustful. So a year ago, it was my idea, my product, my company, my team, and within just a span of few months, it turned into our company, our product, our team. So just, you know, it was incredibly important, like that trustful feeling, like I can just go and these people will take care of this is really invaluable. So surrounding yourself with the people that you can look at and say, okay, well, trustful is. So that was the most important one for me.
That it's about building trust and trusted relationships, and ultimately that's what CRMs help you do, right? Is build trusted relationships. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of the sort of formal part of the discussion. You know, I don't know if we haven't got any major questions coming through yet, but I mean, I'll do a quick takeout or recap. And if anybody's got any questions, please pop them into the Q&A chat. But I think just to summarize a few things is that from a valuation point of view, Really important to think about, how do you remove owner dependence? How do you think about a growth strategy, which obviously is driven by sales and profitable sales at that? So understanding which are the right clients to go after and what have you, and shifting from owner sales to non-owner sales. So I think that's the first thing, is it's really important, if you want to build a business of value, that you can do those things and shift towards a business that can operate without the owner, can sell without the owner. I think the other takeouts, is quite evident, is that the CRM is a tool that allows you to do that. There's lots of choices. It can be confusing. I think also getting started on the journey is more important than necessarily getting it perfect the first time around. So you've got to be a little bit pragmatic about this. And some of the key sort of requirements for SMBs is manage lists, create funnels, create follow-up workflows, create accountability, and create some reporting. So your early CRMs might just need to do those 5 things, or 1 or 2 of those. And then the importance of creating a sales culture and a sales process, choosing the right implementation partner, and looking at tools like VendorBox to help you make this decision. So I think that's really, as I say, the end of the formal part of the discussion. Maybe we can just see if there's any questions that have popped up. Any closing thoughts from you, Zeynep, and from Emma, before we take 1 or 2 questions? See, we've lost your image. So there we go.
Oh, we have a question in the chat. Should I go with that first?
Yeah, I think let's go with that. So do you have any favorite tools? Or tools, this is we're putting you on the spot here. So, do you have any favorite tools, or tools that you're not a big fan of?
Yes, I have favorite tools, and I have tools that I have personal vendettas with. That's for sure. But it all goes back to what I've been saying. It's my favorite tool was my favorite tool because we were using it in the right context. In just one screen, I was able to see. I was the head of CX at the time, and we were able to see the product side, the last exercise that a user did, and the marketing campaigns and all of that, their shoe size. Again, it was a fitness app, so we needed that. So and it was the perfect tool for us. We had a 100% customer satisfaction for 6-7 weeks in a row. We had higher retention and lower churn because it was the right tool for the business. And, with my least favorite ones, yes, it was because we were not using it in the right context. So, we're talking about hundreds of options here. And, we have 600 tools out there, and they're all great for a number of businesses. It's just, whatever is the right fit for you and your operation and your business needs.
Yeah,
I'm not going to name any names
about that, because you're not going to label it and say you love Ferraris and you hate Porsches, and I think that's probably the right answer, because it does come down to is it tomato or tomato, and I guess as VendorBox, you're not going to call out one or other on this call, are you?
No, but I think like what Zeynep was saying, I think it's as professionals, we need to remember that just because we like to, it doesn't have to be a CRM tool. It could be any tool, I suppose, that you use in a business environment. Like, just because it was your favorite when you worked at a particular space or in a particular company, it shouldn't be your favorite forevermore. I think we always encourage people that when they step into a new role or a new business or start a new business, for example, that you're sort of just taking all of your tool selections from a fresh slate and really trying to assess the situation and be like, right, what industry am I in? What types of products or services am I trying to sell? What processes do I need, like we mentioned today? And then just pick, as with all of that in mind, not just like, oh, I like option A, so I'm just going to stick with that, because it probably won't serve you very well. Yeah. I
mean, I think let's take one more question and then we can wrap. And you may have answered this a little bit earlier, Zeynep, but how do you make unbiased recommendations? What is the process? So maybe if you can just recap on that again.
Sure. So we have this from the beginning. The most important thing for me was to take bias out of the equation. Like, when we make recommendations, it should not be, okay, well, I really like this tool, or like, I don't really like this tool. So what we have is we prepared a quality matrix, And this is in accordance with industry standards. It wasn't like, a bunch of us coming together and saying, okay, this should be good, this should be not. So we have a matrix where we base feature sets and overall vendor quality. And as I said, like, we have a database of almost 200 vendors. So once we get your requirements, it's the algorithm, it's not us. It's the algorithm. There are like almost 50 filters running in the background. Okay, so you need top-notch lead management, or you need like advanced level AI-driven marketing automation or reporting skills. So these are the filters that are running in the background. And then we are very transparent. When we generate the report and send it to our users, we give them all the reasons why the algorithm picked those tools. These are the reasons why they are the best fits for you. They are in your industry. They have all the feature sets that you need. They have top-notch support or whatever else you may need. So we are very transparent in that process. And if there are any follow-ups, we are of course more than happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Well, Zeynep, Emma, it's been an absolute pleasure having you today. I think this is, as I say, it's a real pain point for us as business owners. And I should have said up front, for the businesses that we work with from a valuation point of view, this comes up time and time again. So we appreciate your time. We wish you all the best with VendorBox as you grow out and scale. I'm sure you're going to help countless entrepreneurs and business owners along their journey. So thank you for joining us today. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope we found today valuable. If you did, please like and share. You should get a recording in your inbox, and the webinar will be made available on our website and on YouTube. So please share it with anybody who needs to hear this message, and join us again in the new year when we have our next bizval webinar. So thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.